had gone from hairdressing to barbing to IT to bead making to baking. I wanted to make money, and I also wanted to have a good time while doing it. But after sitting through one class of physics and chemistry, I just knew that was not my path.
How can I position myself for global opportunities?
I'll say two things for this. When you're young, that's the time to take risks. Take a piece of paper. In the center, just draw a circle. Then go on LinkedIn. If they match the skill set you have, that is an option.
On our first episode on Refocus with Joel, we're putting in focus Idongesit Princess Eyo, a top financial analyst who works in London. And for me, the most exciting thing about today's conversation is that we're not just spotlighting the polished Idongesit, right? We are looking at her raw and unfiltered. We're taking it back to Unilag, Lagos, where it all started. The uncertainty, the fears, the ambition, and how she was able to leverage some of the opportunities she had to be able to get to the position where she is. So if you're someone who is not just looking for an inspiring, motivational conversation, you're looking for something that is real, something humane enough, something that touches your core and, identifies with your own process, then you need to listen to this. It's been an incredible journey trying to get you on this pod. So I'm extremely excited to have you, Iddy. We're just going to go straight up. Yeah. So we're just going to go straight up, right? And I think my first question is going to be this, right? I basically want you to take me back to Lagos, right? I want you to, let's go back to Lagos. I want you to tell me about that version of you when you were 18, 19-year-old. What exactly did you want out of life at that point in your journey?
That is such an interesting question because it's such a long time ago. I wouldn't quite say I knew exactly what I wanted. But there were a few things that always stood out to me. I knew I wanted to have impact, and I knew I wanted to make money. It was one way or the other, right? And so there was no direct path. I tried a lot of things, Joel. If I start telling you all the businesses I did, no, for me, it was very squiggly. It was very squiggly, I would say. But I just knew I wanted to make impact and I wanted to make money. And I also wanted to have a good time while doing it. That was very important to me. So yes.
You were young, you were around your family, you grew up in Lagos. What did your family expect success to look like for you? Because in the typical Nigerian setting, they say, oh, I'm sending you to school because I want you to be a doctor, a lawyer, and all of that. That was like success, right? For many households. In your family, what was success like for you?
I would say that I'm very blessed because it was quite liberal in my house. There was no exact definition of success in terms of career path, I would say. But I think my mom was just very insistent on excellence. She didn't mind what path you chose. You just had to be really good at it. So I remember when I was going to pick, because in secondary school you have to pick a specialty, right? So it's either science or commercial or fine or the arts. And I went to her and she was like, yeah, you have to be a doctor. And for a long time, I wanted to be a pediatrician for the longest time. I was like, oh, I do quite well with children, and I really want to be a doctor. But after sitting through one class of physics and chemistry, I just knew that was not my path. I just said, you know what, actually, I don't think this is my calling. And my mom understood. However, at that time, finance wasn't a thing. Everybody knew it as banking. So it was usually attached to banking. So even when I told my mom that, oh, I think I might go in this path, like be a commercial student, she thought, oh, you're going to be an accountant. Oh, that's prestigious. And then I decided that I don't really like numbers that much. Like looking for things that are not missing in the books. Nah, that's not me. So that was something I was like, so I think for a lot of my life, I found out things I did not want to do before I found what I wanted to do. So success for my mom was more, you need to be excellent at whatever it is you choose, and you have to put in the work. So when finance went mainstream, she finally understood what I was saying ages ago. And she got on board. So similarly with my siblings as well, it was just more, my sister chose a path in marketing, right? I mean, my parents didn't have an issue with it. And my last sister decided that she wanted to be a sociologist. I mean, my mom was like, okay, fine. But whatever it is you're doing, just be excellent at it. Like, be the best. Be the best. So I would say I'm very lucky that, in my family, the definitions of success. Oh, I should also add that it may have helped that my mom's eldest sister, was a banker for a very long time. So it wasn't something she was alien to, I guess. Maybe that's why she was a bit more liberal, allowing us to just do what we needed to do.
Now, when people look at you, especially people who don't know your story and your journey, they see this successful, woman who has been able to, she's living her dreams, basically, right? You are in the city of dreams, the city where a lot of Nigerians want to be in, and you're doing well for yourself, if I should say. But there was a time you started making soap, right? I just want you to unpack that, walk us through that. What led to that point where you decided, you know what, I want to start making soap?
Okay, so before the soap conversation, if we take several steps back, the one thing my mom abhorred was idleness. She didn't like seeing her children idle. So something that was very, very pivotal for us was every time there was a skill development class in church, she was going to sign us up. So I had gone from hairdressing to barbing to IT to bead making to baking. There's literally no skill I didn't learn in any church program. She was always signing us up for one or the other. But those things actually taught me that nothing you learn is ever wasted, right? And fast forward to when I then went into university, I was in 200 level and I looked at my allowance and I was like, the kind of life I like to live cannot be supplemented by this allowance. And something has to give. And I was like, okay, you know what? What is it I like to do right now that I can turn into a business to make money? And I thought, for a long time I struggled with my skin, but I finally discovered that, there's a science to skincare. And once you understand the science, it's easy for you to navigate any skin challenges you have. However, there were two problems. The first was everybody was bleaching. Let me not exaggerate. Everybody was not bleaching, but a lot of people were bleaching and
people, yeah.
Yes, and they wouldn't buy skincare if they were not promised that it was going to lighten their shades a bit. And I've always been an advocate for being comfortable in your skin. So my name is Idongesit and it means comfort, right? And I thought, I'm going to have a skincare brand that, number one, tells people that it's okay to be comfortable in their skin. So my product is not going to bleach anybody. You're not going to get 2 shades lighter. You're just going to get lovely, your actual tone, color or complexion would come out. And the second thing was I wanted to show myself that I could be an entrepreneur. So do something hard and do it well. So I think those are the two things that led me to say, you know what, let's actually start the skincare line. And I was in school, I was in university. So of course my first clients would be my roommates. So I would make a big bowl of black soap and I would just give it out. Just like on my hostel floor in Queen Amina Hall. I would just share the soaps to everyone. And people started coming to me like, oh my God, your soap removed my, my eczema. Your soap did this. And I was like, oh, okay. So maybe the next time you want to buy the soap, maybe I'll sell it to you at 2,000 naira. And it was very, very affordable for students because that was my major client base. This was before I even moved to Instagram, before I started doing bulk orders, before I had like proper clients and had to do consultations. And then I also went and I furthered my my skill acquisition based knowledge, right? By taking classes, writing exams, understanding the skin. And it enabled me to be able to have consultations with people so that the skincare was bespoke for them and not just anything mass produced.
So I'll put it this way. You did a bit of, entrepreneurship, with your soap making, and then you went into UI UX. You did a bit of game design with Arutu Gaming. For a lot of people, it looks like this person really doesn't know what she was doing. And I guess the question for you is this, and I know that a lot of people will be wanting to ask because a lot of young people, especially like at the university stage, they are confused. They don't know what they're actually supposed to be doing. And it looks like, I'm just moving around in circles and I'm confused. And I'm looking at your story. There's you that, you're making soap. You're in school, studying a course, but you're also making soap. Now you've gone into UI UX. You did a bit of game design with Arutu Gaming. My question to you is this. At this point in your life, were you actually confused or you were very certain in the direction that you were going?
That's a very interesting question. I wouldn't say I was ever certain. However, the impact and the money and not being idle definitely came together as a trio because while I was making soap, it was a growing business. And around that time, I had an opportunity to work with Dominion and his team. And Dominion was actually also a debater. And so he calls me up one random morning and he's like, "Oh, Princess, I think that there's this grant we should apply for. Like, I really want to do this with you." And we got on a 2-hour call and basically laid out all the proposal and everything. And I thought, wow, the world of gaming is novel, it's exciting, I'm gonna see what's there. I've always been a very curious person, I would say. I've always just wanted to try. So I wouldn't say there was no path. To be fair, from the outside looking in, even I would have thought I was clueless. Like, what was this girl doing? However, I was holding on to God that everything was gonna make sense. But it was also at a time where I was just wrapping up uni. So I was trying to understand what direction I wanted to go. So being able to get on that project with Arutu Gaming, it definitely shifted a lot of things. It showed me that a different path was possible should I choose to embark on that journey. And it taught me a lot of lessons about like working in a team, collaboration, transparency, understanding the nuances of working with friends. Honestly, that was one of the most amazing times in my life because it also introduced me to the gaming community, and taught me a lot of lessons. I just kept thinking, oh my God, these guys are so cool. Oh my God, I really like this. It also allowed me to understand that everybody's path is not the same, but you get to choose what you want your path to look like.
When I look at your story, you had like a sense of direction, but you were also willing to try out different things, that, excited you. And in some way that has helped, with your journey. But now let's take a leap to London, right? What was the actual moment you decided to leave Nigeria for London? What inspired that? I know there's the Japa syndrome and everything, but yours seems to be more calculated, more intentional, right? So I want you to walk us through that. What moment did you decide that, you know what, I need to explore opportunities outside of Nigeria?
I am a staunch Nigerian. I love Nigeria with all my heart. And I always tell people that I always tell people that I did not jackpot. I did not jackpot. Oh my god. But I always tell people that I did not jackpot. And the reason why I say that is I found an opportunity that resonated not only with what I had studied, but it somehow blended my future interest and my current interest, which is so hard to find. And I think so. What had happened was I did. So I went to a polytechnic for my first degree, and then went to university. So in that polytechnic, we had to do something called IT after the 2-year course, and I did mine in a top financial institution in Nigeria. And I was a bulk teller. It was an interesting experience. But it taught me that banking is that's not my path. So I was like, okay, if I'm not a banker with this finance degree, what could I possibly be? And so I decided to try, that was actually one of my inspirations for trying a different career path, trying to see what the gaming world had to offer. Then I tried my hand at being a social media marketer. And then I even tried customer service. Like I tried a couple of things. And I think the exact moment that I knew I wanted to look outside of Nigeria was a very funny story. So, so at the beginning of, on the day of induction at the firm for the IT role, we're given a booklet that said it was the company policy. And I read the policy, and the policy said, address everybody with their first names in the office. And I thought, oh, well, okay, that's nice. So imagine I come into the office, first day at work. Let's use an example, Joel. I'm like, hi, Joel, good morning. And the person stops and looks at me and goes, did you just call my name? I was like, oh, yes. Hi, Joel, good morning. How you doing? And you could almost hear a pin drop in the room. They were like, why are you calling them by that is a married man. And this is my first introduction into the corporate space. So I was like, guys, I'm just following the instructions I saw in the policy. I read the policy. And they were like, they don't care about that. They don't care about that. After that harrowing experience, on my first day at work, I was like, I don't know about this Nigerian corporate sector. But I wouldn't say it was my major reason, but I think that was the day I decided that, I think I need to start looking outside. Let me see what is outside. Let me see what is available to me. And I also want to highlight another benefit that debate gave me. Debate showed me what was possible. Like I saw my fellow debaters, right? I had seen what they had done. I'd seen what was possible. I'd seen them leave the shores of the country, go to school, become doctors, like have PhDs, right? And I thought, wow, if that, because at the end of the day, your brain only knows what it knows. You need to open it up so that I can see what is possible. And having older debaters who had gone into the world and were doing exploits showed me that, oh my God, I can actually do that. Oh my God, that is possible. Oh my God, that is a route I can take. And I think, so just a combination of that experience, first day in the IT role, I took that, I kept it in the back of my mind. So when I was finishing uni, I tried again to get another job. And the corporate sector, it was just almost like I'm naturally assertive, which sometimes may be mistaken as aggressive. So there just wasn't a natural mix, I would say. So I think being able to see what was possible, combined with a few experiences I'd had, I said, you know what, I was going to explore outside the country. However, London wasn't the plan. London was one of the options, and it was the option I eventually chose. Yeah.
So now you're in London, right? You are a black woman in London. Not just any black woman. You are a Nigerian black woman from Unilag in one of the world's top firm. Walk me through that process. Were you scared that this wasn't going to work out?
I mean, there's always that fear of things not working out. However, I would also say that being able to do hard things, but not succeeding in every hard thing I did, also showed me that it's okay to fail and you come back, rebrand, try again, do it again. So it was definitely, for me, there was a fear that I wasn't going to succeed. However, I knew I had a few things. Number one, I had the excellence of being a black woman, not just a black woman who grew up in Lagos. If you can survive Lagos, you can survive anywhere at all. So I knew I had that. I also knew that I had just the entire idea of my support network, my family, my friends. I was like, honestly, this is a leap, but I know I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to succeed. So there was that fear of maybe it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out, what can I do? I did have a plan B and a plan C. But I knew that the excellence of being black and also having grown up in Lagos and my support network was definitely going to help me out should that come to fruition.
I want us to stay a little bit with work. And the reason why I want us to do this is because when we talk about Nigerians outside the country, one of the things that comes to mind, especially with work, is that they're not able to find the right opportunities. You have people who are graduates in medicine, law, and all of those, and they end up in care, and some of these, places where they really don't want to be. I'm not saying, it's demeaning or anything of that sort, but really, Nigerians are ambitious, right? And they would want to be in better places. So I guess for me, the question for you is this. How were you able to, insist on wanting to remain ambitious?
So I think the way I think about it is in two ways. The first thing is I attribute everything I am and everything I have been able to achieve to the grace and mercy of God. I do believe that He is my source. Genuinely, it sounds like a cliche, but it's something I hold very, very dearly. Because only He could have orchestrated this. And the second bit, the second way I see it is the idea of time and chance. So ambition is it's a lovely emotion that comes from privilege. But when it comes down to what is available, I would never think of myself as above doing a care work or a support job, right? If push comes to shove, right? Because it is an honest job, right? I'll take that over doing anything illegal any day. However, I think the ways that I was able to stay, I wouldn't even say I stayed ambitious. I would just say there was an element of God's direction and there was an element of time and chance. I stumbled on a link that allowed me to get hired out of Nigeria. Doesn't happen as often anymore, right? But the time I came in, it was the rave. So I would definitely attribute it to those two things. I mean, I'm still ambitious. So the way I've always thought about things is no matter the opportunity, if you give me a leg in, the excellence will be visible. It will be visible from there on out. So I would definitely say I owe it to the direction of God and time and chance.
So there are people who are watching, right? And they're asking themselves, so they're probably asking themselves, how can I position myself for global opportunities? Maybe not global opportunities, right? maybe also like excellent opportunities here in the country, or opportunities like yours, or to have access to remote work and all of that. But basically, people who are saying, I want to get more out of life. I want to be able to put myself in a pole position where I can attract the right opportunities for me. What would be your one advice for people like that? What should they be doing right now?
Okay, I'll say two things for this, right? So if you're trying to find an opportunity, whether within the country or outside, I would ask this question. If somebody followed you around for the next 1 week, like they followed you, like they were like your shadow, would they believe that you're serious about looking for an opportunity? Would they believe that? Would they believe that you want this more than anything else in the world? When I was applying, I was working and I was watching interview videos. In my sleep, I was listening to the STAR technique. I was honestly, there was no interview question that interview video, me and YouTube, 5 and 6. I was constantly watching, constantly learning. I was in front of the mirror. I was constantly practicing, right? And I would say it paid off because the one thing, if you keep moving, favor meets a moving man. If you keep opportunities. It's like, I think there's this thing in psychology where they say, if you're looking for a yellow car, all of a sudden your eyes start seeing yellow cars everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're looking for an opportunity, I think my first question is, how bad do you want it? Not just how bad do you want it, how hard are you willing to work for it? And I think the last thing I would say is, opportunities are everywhere. And even the Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. Not for anything, but the fact that it exists and you did not know, that's why the perishing happens. So I would say definitely leverage. When I got my role and now the times are so different. So it's almost like night and day. But what I'll say is that different opportunities that are still available, feel free to leverage things like LinkedIn as well. I think it's such an underutilized resource. I also think people don't talk to each other enough. Talk to your friends. Ask your friends what they are doing. If that person is truly your friend, they will tell you, like, I think you should apply for this. Oh, I think you should apply for that. Oh, I said it's a position. I said this position, and I think it'd be great for you, right? So I had a group of friends that were doing that for each other. So you know that thing that they say, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. It's serious, so it's actually true. So number one, I'd say opportunities exist. You just have to be willing to find them and be willing to work hard for them. I would also say that pray. Everybody's is not a Christian, but like if you believe in a higher power, if you're practicing Islam, pray to whoever you believe in. And I would also say the last thing I would say is leverage what is available. A lot of people are, so you know when you look at on your iOS, I get a screen time report and I get to see where I've been spending my time. And if I spend my time for 2 weeks in a row on social apps, I remove all social apps. I'm very fond of that because I'm like, I need to be a bit more productive. So if you're looking at your screen time and you see that all you're doing every time is you're on TikTok, you're not learning anything, you're just laughing at skits. Or you're on Instagram, you're not following people that can help you open doors of opportunities. I mean, there's a place for fun, but do you really want the opportunity or not? That's the first question you have to answer. And once you answer that, you arrange your life around that one goal.
I see a lot of people, they want something. They want to move from point A to point B, but somehow they just want to do it on their own, in their own time, not be able to share. I hear you talk about speaking to friends, communicating and just trying to look for that knowledge. And one thing I share with people is this, that, opportunities don't exist in a vacuum. It exists with people, right? So if you're not bringing in that human factor to be able to connect with people and to also be very loud with what you're doing. So for example, a friend of mine was saying, oh, I want to transition from my 9 to 5 to tech, and I've been learning a skill. And I'm like, I don't know that you've been learning a skill. On your WhatsApp status, nobody knows. Like, put it out there. Let people be able to see that this is the direction you're now moving into. And somehow, somewhere, conversation will start from this, that, and all, or maybe WhatsApp post, a LinkedIn article post, or whatsoever. Right? So I think I agree with you that that is absolutely important. So while we're trying to bring this to a close, I want you to speak to another set of my audience that I think that appreciate, what I'm doing here, or people that are going to be listening to this. And these are the people who, right now, where they are in life, it looks like confusion, right? Maybe I'm giving it a wrong word, right? But they're doing a lot, and it looks like there's a lot of unclarity. For you, it was doing the business, UI, UX, gaming. There are people at that stage, right? And they're probably asking themselves, how do I move from uncertainty? I want you to speak to those set of people. What do you think they should be doing at that stage of their life?
When you're young, that's the time to take risks. Honestly, that is the time when a risk wouldn't cost you so much. So for me, I knew when I was younger, I wanted to try everything. You can call me for anything. I'll show up. I had another business on the side where I had a partnership with a friend where we ran a mobile kitchen, a food business. I had another person I was running a drinks business with. Honestly, my middle name was Dynamic. So I was trying a lot of things. So anybody I would say now who is in a place of confusion, unsure of what the next step is, I think maybe a good way to approach it is take a piece of paper, right? And in the center, just draw a circle. And outside of that circle, write any career path you don't want. That is, the ones that exist to you that okay, I don't want to be this at all. And inside the circle, write a few options that you feel like call to you, right? And then when you're done with that exercise, another way because a lot of people don't do, I think a lot of Nigerians don't write enough. Like when you write things, it becomes a bit clearer. The path kind of starts to make sense a little bit. People don't just write enough. Everyone is like typing. Take a piece. I love a good old piece of paper. And so when you're done with that exercise, now take everything in the middle, right? And write on the top. So for example, take say finance. So write finance on the sheet of paper and write down your current skills. So if say you have great interpersonal skills, you're great with numbers, you're quite analytical, write all those things down, right? Then go on LinkedIn, look at a couple of finance roles and see what the requirements are. If they match the skill set you have, that is an option, right? Try it for a few, maybe say you have 5 names in the circle. Try it for all of them, right? And then that kind of gives you an idea of the different paths you can take. A lot of roles they overlay, right? So for example, human resources would overlay with project management, right? Or it will overlay with project support, right? These roles are, the idea of this exercise is to try and figure out where your heart lies and actually start to move in that direction, right? So I think where confusion starts to happen is maybe in a period of stagnancy, where it seems like everything is just stagnant. Nothing is moving, nothing is, there's no way forward or way backward, right? And it has to happen because you're not satisfied. So I think that exercise might help with trying to figure out maybe a role change or a career path change, right, is probably beneficial for you. I personally don't believe in the idea of age restricting people from doing things. With the exception of like certain roles where they have an age gap, I feel like you can, whenever you're ready to click reset, you should be able to. Say you want to try something new, you should be able to. So if you're currently confused, I'll suggest that exercise. And I would also say, I mean, I've said this a lot of times already, but you really should be praying.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to just say like filler words. So prayer is good, but the works, the action is the thing that actually moves, it makes the prayer work. So do the exercise, try and figure out what is it that I want. If I'm not sure what I want, what is it I do not want? And then try and find a way from there. And also, everything I've said before, leverage your friends, talk to people. I think we don't talk to ourselves enough anymore. Talk to people that, oh, I think I'm struggling. Like, I think I want something else out of life. I really think that if a person is your friend, you should be able to have candid conversations with them. So, so if you're currently confused, please do the assignment, and then leverage the entire, the internet, and try and hopefully it should be able to, give you a little bit of illumination, maybe what you just need is a little tweak here and there, and then all of a sudden your perspective is different.
I think we've had like such a really productive talk, I think, and a lot of things that I've picked out from this, because I mean, I'm still trying to push, and it's so inspiring to listen to you be able to share with us, your journey, your process, challenges, and how you've arrived at where you currently are. And I know, knowing you, I know you're still pushing yourself and demanding more. So we're going to bring the conversation to a close, but I want last words from you. And the question for you is, what are you still figuring out right now? Because it's very easy to look at you and say, come on, she has it all. She's in the city of dreams, like I always call London. She's living well. She's not going around struggling with Lagos traffic anymore. She's flying from here to there and all of that. But I want to know, what are you still figuring out right now?
Oh my goodness, I'm still figuring out a lot of things. First of all, because I'm not having Lagos problems doesn't mean I'm not having London problems. Location is different, but the problem is still a problem.
London problems.
But the problem is still a problem. So I'm still figuring out a couple of things, or a lot of things. I am still figuring out the idea of remaining in this career path. So when I think about my parents, and I think about how they worked, every morning they woke up and went to work for 30 years. I'm still figuring out if that's the path for me. Because some mornings I wake up and I'm like, I really want to sleep some more, but I gotta go to work. But I think I'm still figuring that out. I'm still figuring out what I want my life to look like ideally, and trying to figure out the markers of success for me, right? I'm also still figuring out a lot of, so there's this conversation of, do I want to do a master's? Do I want to do an MBA, right? I want to further my studies, but what does that look like? So I'm still trying to figure that out as well. And I would say in life, you never really stop figuring things out. It never really stops until you're dead and in the ground. You're constantly still figuring out things. So sometimes it's just like figuring out things that work. So whenever I change into when I change to a new role or change teams, I need to figure out what's going on there and how I can have impact there and how I can deliver value there. So it's a lot of figuring out, I would say, that still happens for me.
Thank you so much, Idongesit Princess. It's been such a pleasure having you here on Refocus. We put you on the spot, and I'm so glad that this conversation happened. Been chasing this for quite a while. I know you're a very busy person, but thank you so much for connecting with us and for being very real and true to what you know. I'm very confident that a lot of people are going to find this very useful. I myself already, the things that I've taken note of, and I'm like, you know what, you need to do more of this and all of that. But just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. I'm hoping that we can have another episode with you, because I'm sure that a lot of people will want a part 2. But thank you so much, Idongesit, for joining us on Refocus.
Oh yes, I think this is also a good time to say that. I probably forgot to add this, but make sure you keep reading, keep furthering your knowledge. Listen to a lot of podcasts. Listen to a lot of what's it called now? Audiobooks. Anything that expands your knowledge is very useful. And no knowledge is lost. You'll be so surprised how things come out, how things shine through. So yeah, I just wanted to add that as well.